Greetings, schools, and welcome back to another deep dive into horror television. Tonight we're taking a look at an episode of Night Visions titled Dead Air. I'm ecstatic to be covering another episode featuring a shock jock radio host. It's been a few months now? Somehow they're ever present on this channel. Let's get right into it. We're at a radio station during the graveyard shift. We meet our main guy. His name is Tom Fowler, who is played by Lou Diamond Phillips. He hosts a show called Fright Night Friday, where he has people call in and tell him shocking, scary, thrilling stories. The first caller has a story about a cocky man that changes his tune when he feels the first cut from the knife. The caller has a pretty intense stutter, and the host hangs up on him for sounding like Porky the Pig and having a disgusting and sick story. That's not very nice, Tom. So Tom goes off to the hallway, and one of his coworkers, Silent Pete, runs his mop over Tom's shoe. Silent Pete is wrapping up his tasks. His partner, Nadine, is picking him up. Tom mocks Nadine for her looks, which again isn't nice. I think we can tell already that the shock jocker is far from a sweetheart. Nadine walks in. She's instantly harassed by the host, which sucks. She's sick to bastard death of him. You can tell without her saying a word. Tom points a webcam at them and takes a picture for the radio's website. Nadine exits, because who needs to listen to that mouth? Silent Pete's had enough of the jerk too. He comes in and tells Tom off, and reminds the host that he isn't one of the characters on his show. The poor guy is understandably upset. All Silent Pete has left to say to him is, dead air. In other words, go do your job, you twit. With Silent Pete and Nadine hitting the road, we're left with Tom taking callers. So the first call we hear is the same stuttering guy from the beginning of the episode. Tom hangs right up on him without a shred of remorse. The second caller is a sorority girl named Laura. She's alone and having a really strange night. She's hearing unexplainable noises. When Tom puts on goofy shades for a webcam picture, Laura screeches, sending Tom jumping from fright. Tom continues on. He loads the disc and cues the next song. Laura apologizes for yelling and lets us know that the noise was just the pizza guy. And just as she says that, Tom hears a knock at his window. Believe it or not, it's a pizza. One that Tom never ordered. What a surprise. He sums it up as a gift from a fan, and he tips the delivery driver. Tom brings his pizza back to the studio and grabs a slice. Yummy, yummy. He gets another phone call from Laura, so he's munching down some yummy pizza, and he chats a bit with the sorority girl. She screeches again, and this time it's something worthy of a yell. A large, dead rat is on her pizza. Can you imagine? I would drop dead. I didn't know that was a common topping choice, but to each their own. Laura can't believe it, and Tom thinks nothing of it. He tells her it must be a practical joke. It's not very funny once he opens his own pizza box and finds a very large dead rat on his pizza. Only a second later, we get another call from the horrified Laura. This time, things are even worse. The poor girl is sobbing, and she found something creepy in her bathroom. A writing on the mirror in lipstick tells her, "Laura, I'll kill you quick." Tom has no idea if she's playing a trick or not. He directs his listeners to the radio's website and puts on a mask for another webcam picture. This is when we start seeing things, like on the monitor in an old picture he spots the neon light behind him read Dead FM. He gets up to check it out, and it's his eyes playing tricks on him. Behind him is a masked ghoul with a knife. He doesn't notice, but when he looks at his screen, he sees the masked ghoul with the cleaver. So that appears to actually be real, which is not a great sign for the livelihood of Tom. We get back from commercial break and the host is questioning his sanity live on air. Understandable at this rate. Tom gets another call from Laura. This time she's concerned for her friend who left hours ago but hasn't returned. She found muddy footprints in the hallway. As Laura looks around for her friend, she slips and realizes the footprints are blood. She finds her bloody, carved up friend. Laura is hysterical on the line narrating her discoveries. The phone call ends. Deeply disturbed, Tom puts on something happy and cheerful. Up, up and away in my beautiful balloon. Tom takes a sip of his coffee and it's clogged. He opens the lid and there's a fat dead rat in his cup. I'm sipping that coffee at an alarming rate right now, and if this happened to me, I think I'd drop dead. Then and there. Night night. So that's awful. Tom musters the courage to exit the studio room, and in that hallway he notices bloody footprints. Not good. He follows the footsteps to the manager's office, where he suspects Pete is hiding out and playing a trick on him. He figures he even has Nadine calling in, pretending to be Laura. On the monitor, we see the image from before, of the creepy man with the cleaver holding a knife up to the host from behind. When Tom looks behind him, he sees the truth of the matter. His manager is dead and hanging from a noose in the office. He hears clanking from outside the room and goes to explore the strange noise. He inches towards the production room, where we see the entrance door slamming open and shut in the wind, making a loud, repetitive noise. When Tom gets to the front door, he realizes that a car is parked up against the door, allowing for only a small gap to open. He can only fit his goofy head outside, and when he does, he spots the problem. Nadine is dead and he's trapped in there. He tries the secondary exit door and there's nowhere for this smart aleck to go. What a shame. He goes inside the radio room. He has a phone call, and it's Laura. He doesn't move a muscle when he realizes the murderer is standing right behind him. The killer goes around to face Tom, and you won't believe who it is. The stuttering man who called first but was rudely cut off. The man was also the voice of Laura, the sorority girl. And our closing scene is the man finally able to tell his story on air. And even better, he tells it in the voice of Tom, as Tom sits there unable to do anything but anticipate his cruel and sick murder. He should have just let the guy tell his story, as our narrator Henry Rollins points out.
For all you pains in the asses out there, remember, you can only irritate so many people before you piss off the wrong one.
So what did you think of this one, my dear ghouls? I'm going to rate it a 7 out of 10 for the series. It's memorable and I like the main takeaway a lot. When you're consistently shit-talking, it's really only a matter of time before you get sliced and diced. There's real-life murderers out there all. Be careful. This episode is pretty cheesy. The character of Tom is impossible to put up with, to be honest, though I think that was the intent here. This one felt heavily inspired by the Howard Stern radio show. And one thing Tom could have learned from Howard is to not dismiss the whack pack. I'd like to think Howard would have at least talked to the stuttering dude and went along with the gross demented story for a bit. Anyway, the acting was pretty good, I think. The writing was The script was corny. There, I said it. But I've seen much worse. There was definitely a story and some great ideas among the trash. For one, I liked that he couldn't leave the radio building because a car was parked up against the door. That's something new and interesting for the channel, and of course a great reason why he couldn't leave the building. I'd say the casting was spot on here. I liked the big dude that played the murderer a lot. He pulled off the role and the stutter great. The actor for Tom was a great choice. He truly sold us on the role of an arrogant radio host. Another standout contribution to this film was the music they licensed. It was intentionally light and cheery, which juxtaposed with the gruesome events occurring paid off nicely. I seriously enjoyed it. Though I rated this one lower than usual, I still highly recommend giving this one a once-over and seeing the spectacle unfold for yourself. As of when I'm publishing this video, all Night Visions episodes are available to watch for free here on YouTube if you search for them. I sure love horror anthologies we can all watch without paying an arm and a leg for. So if you happen to find others, be sure to leave me a comment so we can check it out. Huge thank you to my patrons for making this video possible, and if you care to help support the channel, Patreon is the best way to do so. But if you're poor like me, guys, likes and comments are just as helpful, as they help me reach a wider audience, and I appreciate it a whole bunch. That's all I have for today. Be well and stay spooky.